From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the
have,
Sentinel system do?
we could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
Ben Dawson, we've got Dominated with Dawson questions.
All right. What are they?
Well, there's 2 different questions that I think are actually the same thing. One was how to get out of a rut, and one was how to deal with plateaus. And I kind of think they're almost the same thing. They're not quite the same thing, but you know, trying to break into, you know, something you're consistent at and get out of that and get to the next step. And if there's one thing I know about you, it's that satisfaction with lap time has yet to enter your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from my own experience of having hit a few different plateaus. You know, I had, when I was karting, I definitely hit plateaus that were more setup related than skill. So sometimes you could, just to say this, you could be hitting a setup plateau that doesn't have much to do with your driving skill. But yeah, I mean, in general, we're talking about plateaus and how well we're doing behind the wheel. I remember when I had already been instructing for a little while, I got a chance to do time trial with NASA. I guess I'd been an advanced driver for a long time. I got a chance to do time trials for free if you were a NASA instructor. So I was like, oh, okay, this is before anybody had smartphones and, you know, a lap timer in their pocket. So I wasn't doing any data. I just thought, I'm keeping up with this guy and I'm faster than this guy. So I must be a pretty great driver. But the first time I had to put a transponder on my car, I realized there were cars similar to mine that I should be able to be as fast as, and I was a few seconds off of. So I realized I had hit a plateau or was in a rut thinking I was like this badass driver, and I was not as fast as I should have been in the equipment that I had. So, you know, in that particular instance, so one of the ways I was able to break out of a plateau was to quantify what I was doing, you know, to time myself and realize here's where you are. And then realizing where I needed to be was part of breaking out of the plateau too. It was like, okay, you're on a plateau. How far away from this plateau do I need to get to sort of achieve my next milestone? And my next milestone was trying to be one of the top 3 in TTE and NASA in my region or whatever. And another way, so that way, you just I think you have to realize you've hit a plateau. You have to kind of quantify it or figure out where you want to be doing, and then you have to execute. And luckily, in this case, I would just do a lot of on the job, on the track execution of just trying to stay close to the cars that were similar to mine. Like I had a 1.8 Miata, try to stay close to other Miatas and E30s and people who I just generally should have been, at least through guts or skill at that level of time trial, I should have been pretty close to these cars. And I just watched. I was like, just like I'm always talking about enabling people when I'm in the car, telling them what they can get away with. I just observed what other cars on similar tires and weights as mine were able to do. Like, oh, this guy can, brake here going in South Bend, and I either, brake in earlier. I just try to find little pieces here and there of what other cars could get away with that I didn't think I could. And I started trying to apply them and pick up a little bit of time here, pick up a little bit of time here. A lot of stuff, a lot of just stealing other people's moves. Like I am not above stealing somebody's move. If it works and I realize I can probably do it in my car, that is stolen. That's in my bag now. You know what I mean? So these are some of the ways I would recommend people get out of a rut. Ride with somebody, have somebody drive your car. Kind of shake stuff up. If you think you're doing great, nobody could be any faster in your car. Go find somebody who you think is maybe a faster driver than you, and have them take a few laps in your car and ride with them if you can. But at least get some information about hopefully you have video in the car or something like that. But if you get somebody in your car, they go run a significantly faster lap. Go back, watch the video before you get in the car and try it yourself. And, oh, I could be braking here. So many ways you could piece together a comeback out of a plateau. But those are some I could think of right off the bat that you can apply right at the track. Steal from people who are doing it better than you and faster than you, through what you observe on the track. Have people ride with you, drive your car, observe as much video and data as you can from comparable vehicles, even if it's not at the track. If you're trying to conquer your plateau after you left the track and realize, damn, I'm sitting on a plateau and I've just didn't really figure it out till that Sunday afternoon. I didn't really have time to do anything about it. Go home and try to use a bunch of videos to help nudge you off the plateau next time you show up. Preparation.
So before I ask Miss Audra about plateaus, I am going to say the most profound thing in the history, the illustrious history of our monstrous podcast, who has been ignored by listened to by millions of people.
Several people.
Severals, more than 3. If you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to get a lot better. In the beginning of your racing, you keep trying to get very repetitive and very consistent and very repeatable and doing it the same thing. And eventually you get to a point where you are doing it repeatedly and you're not going to get any better until you try something different. I know. It's crazy. Tone it down, people. Okay. Miss Audra, track, autocross, whichever one you're feeling like. Do you ever get stuck? Do you ever feel like I'm not better?
Yeah, every single event.
So have you found anything to help you nudge yourself along? Is there something, do you sit in the car and curse at yourself before the race, or?
No, I cry. No,
okay. That works. You just bring tissues in the race car. That's what they were there for. It's fine.
No, so sometimes I forget to drive happy, and I'm always better when I'm driving happy and I'm not like beating myself up at all. But all the things that Ben just said about hopping into other people's cars, watching and seeing what they're doing at different turns. For autocross, it's pretty easy to do that, to see where they're turning, where they're braking, hopping into their cars. I don't really do data, so that doesn't help me very much. But even
don't do data
going
yet.
and co-driving with much better drivers is really helpful. And even I instruct at a couple of clubs, and that's been helpful for me as well, just to see, how other people are taking the lines, and even being within, novices can help sometimes, because you actually hear the words that are coming out of your own mouth and decide to apply them.
Yep.
Taking your own advice.
Yeah. It's a weird thing when you actually do that.
Oh yeah, I think if you're an instructor and you don't learn from your own teaching, if you don't ever pick anything up yourself with a student, you're probably not a good instructor.
No, I mean, sometimes they teach you what to do, and sometimes they teach you what not to do, and both are useful.
There's
Yeah.
always something to observe and gather, good or bad.
Exactly. It's just like work, and there's people that show you what to do at work, and there's people that show you don't do that. That's not it. Miss Vicki, have you ever been stuck?
All the time.
What are you doing about it, woman?
Well, cross training helps.
Meaning
going into, if you do an autocross, kind of helps because you're forced to kind of focus on turns, and precision turns to kind of get through the track.
You could
skid
you could go to it.
Skid pads are great. Autocross tracks are great. And even at a point, if you were in one series, try another series.
Another car.
In another car, try a different car.
You could go to a DE event with your ding dong husband.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out of the box here.
DEs work. So you can focus on, a particular problem you might have. Right seaters help. Following people on the track helps. I mean, I've learned a lot just by, looking at what the better drivers while I'm racing.
Yeah.
Looking at what the better drivers are doing. I know who the A racers are. So I've mentioned this before on the podcast is that I'll follow them for as long as I can to figure out where their turning points are before, they, catch ahead of me or they lose me.
You try to throw a hook onto him and hang on as long as you can. You pick up pace on track right then. You pick up pace immediately.
Right. It's like, what are they doing differently, and how late are they going into that turn off the straightaway? And that's very encouraging if you know what to look for.
Yeah, they're braking half the time you are, or you can hear them pick up the throttle earlier than you are.
Yeah, I mean, how ballsy is that for them to go in that late on a turn? I need to try that next,
And then it turns out it's not that crazy. You're like,
it's really not that crazy. Yeah. It's just that I'm like a chicken. So, and the last one that we did was data is helped elevate us, and having a coach, if somebody is there. DEs are great for that if you get somebody to right seat you.
Or track days, just open track days.
Track days, yeah. Seat time is important, but sometimes you can't get beyond that unless you have a little bit of help or a push. So you still be doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, I think we talked about it in earlier Dominator Dawson, which probably came out last week. I don't know. I have yet to. We just recorded it. Having goals will force you to try to change something.
Yes. Yep.
As opposed to, there's people who go to track days, once a week, once a month, once whatever, twice a month, who cares? But they just lap. They just lap. And eventually they get into a pattern. And, if you look at it from a consistency standpoint, these people are phenomenal.
Right.
But rarely are they in first place and that consistent. Usually they're mid-pack, sometimes slower. But they're very consistent, but they're not doing anything different, and they're not getting any better. So the goals may be something.
Well, sometimes I do have to admit that I am a lazy driver.
You are.
I have a tendency to be lazy. Sometimes I just want to enjoy the drive more than I am competing. But
you're starting to break that though.
Yeah, well, I don't think that we've really ever decided that we were actually going to do and go for it. So I think that
last time we did.
Yeah.
You got competitive.
Yeah.
You did your little happy dance when you beat me. Admit it.
It was shocking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like I said, is that I think maybe sometimes that plateauing is also maybe just laziness.
You're comfortable where you're at.
You're comfortable. and you're really not pushing. It's like, this is my style. This is what I know I can do. You really haven't decided, hey, I'm really going to try more. And I think you have to make a choice to do that.
Did we just discover the difference between a plateau and a rut, perhaps? Sounds like you're describing a rutting around in a rut.
Yeah.
Plateaus. Yeah. So maybe
I think that's a difference. I think a rut might be just, this is as good as I am right now and I'm comfortable. And I think a plateau is you just can't get beyond it.
I think nobody should stay in either place for too long.
No.
So one thing we didn't talk about yet was my most recent plateau, which
Okay.
I think broke at our last event when I was doing the sprint racing. I was at a point where I didn't know what was past there. Like, it's different if you've got a journey and you know what the next step is, but if you just don't know what the next step is towards betterer, sometimes you can get lost in what to do. Is that making any sense? I hear crickets.
Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess I don't get where how you identified what was deficient and what you were planning to do about it.
I think it was interacting with Jackie, who was coaching us at that weekend, and having the data and having other cars that were prepared the exact same way. You know, because I was running in a division with all similarly performance cars. Balance of performance was about equal. And then seeing either in the data or by following them what they were doing or capable of doing that I wasn't doing. And in some instances, I could see where I could catch some people, meaning I was either more comfortable in the car or more comfortable in the track. But in other instances where I thought I was good, they were actually leaving me. And I wasn't. And I wasn't. And I'm not saying they were getting everything out of it, but they were getting more out of it than I was. And, so it was helpful because the mixed class racing that we do, endurance racing, sometimes it's hard to compare yourself apples to apples because you're in a B car and they're in an A car or they're in a C car, but there's also the driver variability. So it's hard to measure yourself. And I found that to be helpful for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Nothing tremendously valuable apparently, but that's okay.
No, that's just how you do it. That's just what you do. Compare, benchmark, figure out where you're missing time.
Yep.
And scoop it the hell up.
Consistency is good if you're consistently super. But if you're in the middle, maybe not. Do we miss anything? Listeners, did we miss anything?
Well, tell us about it.
Listeners, garageheroesandtraining@gmail.com. Garageheroesandtraining@gmail.com. Nothing? Okay.
All right.
Cricket signing off.